there's a bird. You know what I mean? She's 3. So it's like, so I don't think you're going to, as long as you continually move through the story and you continue to move to other topics or to talk about sin or to talk about the garden and you don't just sit on that the whole time in the lesson, I think you're going to be fine in terms of gravity.
Are we allowed to bring concepts in, like, you know, if mommy or daddy ever put you on timeout, how did we feel? Sad. We were separated from mommy and daddy. Maybe we cried, you know, and it hurt. So that's like one part because he knew he was going to be separated. We probably can't say, what is it with my nose? Like when you got paddled, it hurt. You know what I mean? I'm sure that's not appropriate. But
maybe we could ask him if we could give him a spanking.
Then they'll all know, right?
No, I think that's
fine.
I would be okay with that as a parent. You know.
Well, it depends on culture and what it's like.
Part, that's the part, right. See, I'm trying to remember to think outside of where I am. On some campuses, that might not, probably really safe in our campus here, just might not be safe somewhere else. So that could really bring trauma or thoughts of trauma.
A safe way to do it might be just, you know, has anybody at school ever, like, taken something that was yours, done something wrong to you? You knew it was wrong. You knew when they did it was wrong. You didn't think it did. Did that hurt?
Generally speaking, if we, you know, when we're dealing with this, if we're attempting to bring up context where we're like, when you did something wrong, what did your parents do, and think about consequences for behaviors at home. And it's probably a general rule for us is probably to think more about putting that in the context of school.
Like a peer relationship.
Well, no, we can still do like when you didn't do something right at school, if you have school-age kids, because obviously we know that, you know, their teacher's not doing something abusive, or that we can even pretty accurately predict what a teacher would do when a kid does, and the behaviors are predictable and it's safe.
Yeah, that's true, because they're a lot more regulated right there. You can predict it.
For pre-K, maybe we just talk about, you know, have you ever been away from your mom and things like that.
Sure. What I'm kind of thinking.
You know, like Jesus being away from the Father, God, being away from your parents.
Yeah. That makes sense. The separation. And part of like that, the reason why it's a little ribbon is you can talk about death and hang on the cross and put in the tomb, but you're not seeing a body. You know what I mean? So it's a symbol. And so they can get some of the concept without, you know, maybe how we feel if we watch. Yeah, you know, like, yes.
Yeah, let's not do any Mel Gibson.
That's what I know. I used to part one. You watch Mel Gibson movies. What about those little eggs? Because I usually bring little eggs that you open up. Yeah, the resurrection eggs.
Resurrection eggs.
Okay. Is that something that...
I do not own a set. No.
Do we own them as a church? Resurrection eggs?
I doubt it.
You need to order 6. You need to order 6 so they can do them for each week for the kids to play with.
Speaking of that, one thing I would stay away from is stuff like the Benjamin's box. You guys ever heard of that stuff?
We have Benjamin's box too.
Like it's good, but then you have that hard part of like, this kid isn't real, but the story is. You know, he wasn't really there, but Jesus was real. You know, like make believe, real. You know that it gets a little
eggs are great
mucky.
because it's got a symbol
that
goes along with everything.
And if we did it all 3 weeks. They get so excited, you know what I mean? Yeah, they would probably like the repetition.
But the teachers need to stay on top of the eggs or things will go missing.
Well, yeah, because there's little things that you saw inside each egg.
Yeah, so if you make a reference to the egg, maybe just put in parentheses like, you know, teacher hold the egg, show it to the kids, make a big deal of it,
or
but
let them pass it around.
but make sure you get it back. Stuff like that,
Sometimes they take a while to come in.
As I was kind of chewing on, like, what do the kids get?
They would have them at Lifeway.
They don't? Do they? Yeah.
They had them at Walmart.
Oh, as far as, just off topic, but before I forget, the gardens probably need 7 actually, because we'll need one for Saturday night. Kids, do we do pre-K on Saturday night?
Yep.
So then do you want them to have their own? Separate from the Sundays, or do they share?
I would just share.
Or Sunday morning? Well, yeah, I guess you could, because if you're making the different elements to add to it each week.
It's going to be easier to have a separate one. It just really is.
Okay.
It's not going to matter if there's two.
No.
We have 2 kids church right now.
Yep.
And then I believe we have 2 of both. 2. And it used to be 2 pre-K nursery and only 1 kids church, but they reverted it back.
That's true. So do you mean would it be easiest to just have a bunch?
But not, it's not on Sunday mornings. It's not consistent for the people that are even there on either service, let alone coming to the same one.
Okay. So Josie, let's do there's 1 kid Sunday or 2?
I have 2 right now.
So let's do 3, because that would be Saturday night, and then 2 kids, and then let's do 4 for the pre-K.
Of the garden.
Yeah.
Just for this campus, and then
and then
2 for each of the other campuses.
Actually, only 3. Downtown doesn't do pre-K.
Oh, okay. So they just need a kids church, and then after this, it needs a pre-K.
So
that's
we do simple math.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Did I not count right?
That's what I got last week.
9. We need 9. We would need 9 gardens.
Okay, sounds great.
And again, if you don't have enough stuff, we can make a list.
I'm just going to go to the dollar store.
And then, but Resurrection Eggs.
But also realize that church has a budget for that, so we can absolutely.
I'll bring your
but the Resurrection Eggs we definitely can share.
I don't mind either way.
The Resurrection Eggs we definitely can share. Just 1 pre-K, 1 kids church, because that is.
Are we doing those for other campuses too?
We can.
Does that make 5?
I think so.
So we would need 5 sets of Resurrection Eggs.
Can you take care of ordering those, or send me the link like you did for the
other?
other?
I can look it up. We may even be able to just run and get them. Right now. Lakeway probably is getting that stuff.
That's true. They probably is. Yeah.
You're right. I do too usually.
Okay, so just some general thoughts with this whole thing of like Christ dying, raising, that whole thing. The kids would definitely get sacrificed. Like they may not totally grasp death itself. It's not me saying don't talk about it, but like what would they grasp? I think they would grasp sacrifice. They kind of get that. I think they would understand some sense of compassion or love that like acts on the good of, or for the good of somebody else, and not explained that way, but in some way I think they would. And then just remember that it's good to see our sin and know the cost of it. So don't feel bad if you show the kids that, but be aware of like the details of bloody, brutal death, and just be aware of that. Even in that context of some of the other campuses where you're thinking about it, some of the kids, if they are in a bad situation, may have seen people get bloodied and beaten, and that could be potentially really difficult. So just be aware of some of that. But kind of like Ashley, kind of like you were saying, if we lead with God's goodness, we talk honestly about the bad and the cost of our sin, and then we end with hope, always end with hope, I think be pretty okay. Ultimately, that's what Easter is about. It's about how God's love overwhelms our sin. God's Son overcomes evil. God's life, Christ's life, overshadows death itself. So don't just get fixated there on the cross. As weird as that sounds, because we kind of do that, right? We kind of get fixated on the cross. Kind of pointless if there's no resurrection after, right? And that's what Easter is about. All right, so great parade. So we're kind of, I realized there was a little side thing. Great parade. It contrasts all the different groups as Jesus enters Jerusalem. There's like 5 of them, so it's probably too much to do with the kids. So maybe narrow it down. Maybe just kind of focus on the things that are really, really apparent. When you're looking, whoever has that one, when you're looking at the sermon, you'll see like it's probably a little too metaphorical for the kids and a little too nuanced. You got like the religious leaders and some hypocrisy stuff, and you got these people that are selling things and using the temple for their comfort, and it's, you're kind of, I don't know if a kid would get that, but I think part of what they would get is something really obvious, like the crowd cheers, yeah, Jesus, here he is, and then the crowd goes, kill him, we don't want him, like that's very obvious for a kid. The other thing maybe is that sermon really works through at one point Matthew 20:14-16. That's when Jesus is in the temple and the kids are shouting Hosanna, and the religious leaders are like, "Hey, do you hear these kids? You gotta stop them." And he goes, "Yeah, I hear them. Did you not hear what my scripture said? Out of the mouths of infants and kids, I'll draw my praises." I could see you just kind of writing a lesson out of that, just focusing right there. You can know him, you can praise him, Jesus came for you, and just kind of sticking right in there, do a little explainer of the cross and what he came for and all that. But just be aware that you probably won't be able to cover all 5 of those. And then the great earthquake, that last one, the resurrection. So the way this sermon kind of functions is it kind of goes to, so the death at the cross was real, and the implications there matter. God was working at the cross, and so the big truth of that is that God is working in our darkest moments. Jesus gave his life away. Jesus' resurrection is the key to new life, and Jesus gives us new life. Kind of works through like those major points. It goes out of its way to make sure we know that we are not just avoiding punishment, or the cross moment is not just about avoiding punishment. It's God showing his love. It's God restoring us. It's God recreating us. We don't just believe in a resurrection event. We believe in a resurrected person. You think of Jesus saying, "I am the resurrection and the life." Or you think about John 1 saying, "In him was life." That life was the light of the world. The application digs into experiencing the resurrection personally, like you actually have a resurrection. And then it just does 3 verbs: give, celebrate, and serve. Give, celebrate, and serve. So that may be something that you play with in the application. Just one really brief side note too. You'll see in there, we put a really short note at the bottom, and it may not make sense if you get there. I just don't want you to be weirded out. There's this part in there about like, does God die? And just being really clear that God does not die. Okay. Jesus dying on the cross does not mean God ceased to exist. If you think about it, that couldn't happen. Just completely irrational and illogical. And where that really comes from is when he says Psalm 22, my God, why have you forsaken me? For some people that brings up like some really troubling questions. Did God totally abandon Christ at the cross? Like, was he totally gone? How did the Godhead separate? Like the Father and the Son. I thought they both were God, so how could they, totally? When he dies and he gives up his last breath, like, did God die? Right? Some of these things in there, people can have some tough questions. And we put very brief notes at the bottom of it, but what they essentially are saying is, one, there's a concept in Jewish culture called a remez, and when it's basically wordplay. You say maybe the beginning of a psalm, and everybody knows you're quoting the whole thing. You say like one little phrase, and everybody knows, oh, he just signaled us to think Exodus 34. He said the name, and he said mercy. Okay, he's telling us just like Moses saw God go, the name of the Lord, the one who's merciful. You know what I'm saying? And this was like very common to them. Even just very basic people would have just played these little word games and been totally fine. For us, it's a little more difficult. The whole biblical literacy thing is a little more challenging with that. But what he's doing is he's flooding their minds with the full reference of Psalm 22. The whole context of the passage, God working in that time, that place with Jesus on that cross, is pulling up the whole thing where God was working with David in that time and that place right here, right now. So it's part interpretation, part fulfillment, and part like intervention. So when he says, my God, why have you forsaken me? If you go read Psalm 22, it starts, my God, why have you forsaken me? And then just verses later it goes, God, I will see your faithfulness right here. By the end of the psalm, he's singing about the praises and the faithfulness of God in the assembly of the brothers. So you see where this whole thing is like full circle. And if you think about it, it makes sense. You read this in the Gospels. He says, my God, why have you forsaken me? The last thing he says is, my God, into your hands I commit my spirit. Right? It's almost like the exact same thing as Psalm 22, but played out in that Gospel text. There is the moment of justification that happens right there. And then this whole idea of death as separation, not ceasing to exist. So realize that when we talk about somebody dying, we tend to think like erase them from the board, they're gone. But what we are talking about is the body is dead and the spirit is separated from the body. The resurrection is when the spirit and the body are reunited together. Kind of kills all the ascetic, Gnostic, poopy, stupid theology stuff. Body dies, spirit continues. Human body dies, it's judged. but the divine nature of Christ lives on and is rejoined to a resurrected body. Which, by the way, is kind of a stunning thought if you think about it. Jesus did not become human flesh for 32 years. He became human flesh forever. Kind of crazy. Like he's sitting in heaven right now on a throne in a human flesh. It's just a resurrected, perfected, glorified body. Cool. So that was your side note.
So before he came to earth as a baby,
yes,
did he have flesh?
So the opinions vary.
Okay, I was just wondering what you're thinking.
Christophany, is he in flesh, is he not in flesh? Is it a momentary manifestation? Is it like that before that?
So as a church, we don't have
I don't know that we have a stance on it. But I do think it'd be somewhat confusing to say he had flesh, but he was born into a different body. You know?
Right.
So
when he was the Word made flesh.
Yep. So I could see if you kind of put all these together, you may, like thinking sermon 1, 2, and 3. So we have this cool kind of visual thing going on. We may also want to play with some of those applications from the last one and spread them across the 3. So maybe sermon 1 has the focus of the give, like John 13:34. He says, haven't you read in the scriptures, he taught children and babies to sing my praises? Like kind of getting that initial response. Wow, that's what he did for me. That's the compassion he has for me. That's how he feels about me. I just want to be like, God, thank you. You're amazing. Give praise. Maybe sermon 2 is serve. Think like Matthew 21:16, where he says, I give you a command, love one another. As I've loved you, love one another, So maybe you're kind of pushing them to show that love for each other. And then sermon 3, maybe that one's to celebrate. So think of stuff like John 11:25, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will have life and never die. Maybe it's 2 Corinthians 5:17, like if we're in Jesus, we're a new creation, Maybe there's something you play with that with a memorable phrase, having the kids just repeat it, I don't know. You don't have to do that. It's just a thought. The craft stuff is kind of taken care of. The family thing, you could just ask brief little things like, hey, go give somewhere, go serve somewhere, go celebrate, with your mom and dad, go pray with them, right? Like little actions, just remember little actions. I think that is all I have in here. Yep. So that was a blast. Kind of overwhelming. Daniel 9, first 2 sermons, or the 2-parter. Daniel 10, and then the 3 Easters. Anything at all that as you hear all that, you're thinking, clarify something for me? Anything jump out at you at all? Nothing? Cool. Do you guys want to stay and brainstorm with each other? You want to do some thinking and talking, just to process? Totally can. I'm going to have to take off because I got to grab those dudes before they rip poor Luke apart.
Is that where they are?
Yeah. And I owe him some ice cream.